Now the second recording of the process. Now that I'm going to add the improvements to Trevor Graydon's song Speed Test. Take a letter to a Mr. John Hudson, Hudson's Floor Wax. You'll find an invoice in the file for the address. Dear Mr. Hudson, colon. My eyes are fully open to my awful situation, so I'm writing you a letter to demand an explanation. When the floor wax that we bought from you arrived here Monday morning, we discovered upon usage that the fume should have a warning, since the only possibility is that your wax is rancid. I request a full refund of all the money we advanced. And unless you can convince me you'd improve the floor wax better, we will take our business elsewhere. So, I hope you'll solve this matter. How's my speed, Mr. Matt? Enclosure, find a small container of the stuff I talk about. Just carefully remove the lid and take a whiff if you've a doubt. Sure you wouldn't want me to alert the daily papers when the news of how our office was affected by your vapors, which is why I choose to write to you confidential letter full of strong recommendation that you make your floor wax better. I just hope it won't require us to have our floor delayed, and if it does, you may expect a bill. Sincerely, Trevor Graydon. So I felt like by doing that, it kind of worked. I kind of introduced the character better from my point of view. I'll look at the video later about it so that I can improve on that again. But I felt like for the second part I did talk it through, so I think if I hold the note longer I might be able to capture the character better. So I'm going to try that again, adding a longer note. Probably going to go lower for the high note. I'm going to go higher for the low note because then I'll reach my vocal cords and I'll be able to sing it better. So this is take 2. Start from the beginning. Take a letter to a Mr. John Hudson, Hudson's Floor Wax. You'll find an invoice in the file for the address. Dear Mr. Hudson, colon. My eyes are fully open to my awful situation, so I'm writing you a letter to demand an explanation. When the floor wax that we bought from you arrived here Monday morning, we discovered upon usage that the fume should have a warning, since the only possibility is that your wax is rancid. I request a full refund of all the money we advanced. And unless you can convince me you've improved the floor wax better, we will take our business elsewhere. So, I hope you'll solve this matter. How's my speed, Mr. Matt? Enclosed you'll find a small container of the stuff I talk about. Just carefully remove the lid and take a whiff if you've a doubt. I sure you wouldn't want me to alert the daily papers when the news of how our office was affected by your vapors. Is why I choose to write to you confidential letter full of strong recommendation that you make your floor wax better. I just hope it won't require us to have our floor laid, and if it does, you may expect a bill. Sincerely, Trevor Graydon. A lot better. That seemed a lot better. I think that I'll give it one more go, just to make sure it wasn't a fluke. But then after that, I'm going to review the video and see what improvements I can do. Take 3. Take a letter to a Mr. John Hudson, Hudson's Floor Wax. You'll find an invoice in the file for the address. Dear Mr. Hudson, colon. My eyes are fully open to my awful situation, so I'm writing you a letter to demand an explanation. When the floor wax that we bought from you arrived here Monday morning, We discovered upon usage that the fume should have a warning, since the only possibility is that your wax is rancid. I request a full refund of all the money we advanced. And unless you can convince me you've improved the Florex better, we will take our business elsewhere. So, I hope you'll solve this matter. How's my speed, Miss Dillmount? Enclose your finest small container of the stuff I talk about. Just carefully remove the lid and take a whiff if you've a doubt. I sure you wouldn't want me to alert the daily papers with the news of how our office was affected by your vapors, which is why I choose to write to you a confidential letter full of strong recommendation that you make your Florex better. I just hope it won't require us to have our floor relayed, and if it does, you may expect to be sincerely, Trevor Graydon. That sounded very better. That sounded a lot better from what it was to begin with. I've definitely improved. That's definitely something that I've done from this. So I'm going to look back at the videos now, and I'll give a brief description of what I think at the end of the videos.